Hey guys, it's Dominique. This week's topic is coming out. So first thing I should start off with is I'm not 100% out. I'm not out to my extended family or at work. I am out to my close relatives, friends, and whatnot. My roommate, my neighbors, my girlfriend, obviously, my parents and siblings. They all know. They're all supportive and accepting of that. So, alright, coming out. So, I've lived as a lesbian for over a decade now. I've just been a dyke, and so there was a period of time when I was about 17, 18, and a little bit into my 19th year where I did go by male pronouns, and I was referred to as he and bro and boyfriend, and I loved it. It never did occur to me to call myself transgender. I never really knew what that meant. And so that wasn't ever something that crossed my mind, was that I was transgender. I didn't have resources or anything like that to explain to me what transgender was. I actually had a transgender friend during that time, an FTM, but we never talked about it. He was just another guy to me. So we never talked about his testosterone or his surgeries or anything like that, or what he wanted. And I only knew him as a transgender guy, or as a guy, I guess I should say. So, the term transgender rarely ever came up, and I never got to understand that process. And so I never related. I never knew how he felt about it or why he felt he was transgender. He was just a guy, and I was a dyke. And so it wasn't ever something that occurred to me that I could relate to. I joined the military. Obviously, there was no male pronouns used there. And then I got into my current relationship while I was still in the military. And when I expressed my preference for male pronouns, it was actually not something that my partner was comfortable with. And so I kind of let it slide. And I brought it up a few times within our relationship. And, there's a little bit of effort put in at some points, but not ever completely. And then when Caitlyn Jenner came out to the world, all of a sudden there was this influx of information about what it meant to be transgender, and I was able to do a lot of research into that. It was something that kind of piqued my interest, so I did a lot of research into that, and I was able to understand that that is something that I relate to, and that, you didn't have to be like this manly, butchy, motorcycle wearing, mustache having, girl in order to consider yourself a trans guy. And I guess that was kind of my impression of what transgender meant. That you were either pretty much already a guy long before you ever started testosterone, or you see like the prostitutes and stuff like that, or drag queens and drag kings. Like, that was really my impression of what transgender meant. So being able to do that research really helped a lot. Watch videos and realize that I related to a lot of these people. I didn't commit myself to the transgender title until I was 100% sure, which didn't occur until I was actually at a water park. The idea of a water park already kind of like freaks me out a bit, just because there's so many people and water, and I don't know. But I had on a t-shirt and board shorts, and then when I went on the first little ride attraction thing and the clothes were suction cupped to my body, I realized at that moment how uncomfortable I was with the idea that every single person that looked at me saw me as a woman, and there was nothing else that they could possibly see me as, because my shirt was suction cupped to my chest and my shorts were suction cupped and everything was just, you could see me. You could see everything I don't normally allow anyone to see, because I dress, I dress in a way to cover those things up. I dress in a way to at least create confusion. Various people, they'll call me either ma'am or sir, but I know that no matter what they call me, they're never certain, and I'm okay with that. Um, I've been, like I said, I've been a dyke for 10 years now, so it wasn't something that ever bothered me to know that people weren't ever really sure if I was a guy or a girl, and it actually was amusing. But in the moment at the water park in which I knew that everyone saw me as a woman and nothing else, there was no confusion, I became really anxious and very upset. I was just bothered, like to the core of me. I was bothered and upset that I couldn't I couldn't show anyone who I was, because there's no hiding um, what my body looked like. And I actually ended up figuring out a life vest. I put on a life vest, and it helped a lot. I was a lot more comfortable. I knew that people couldn't see um, what I didn't want them to see, and that worked for me. And I was able to enjoy the rest of my day, but uh, that moment still stood out to me, at which I knew that without a shadow of a doubt, I was definitely 100% transgender. Um, and when I told my girlfriend, at first she was really upset. Um, she tried to say she was surprised, but I reminded her of the moments throughout our relationship where I brought up, without using the word transgender, I brought up my feelings of male pronouns and different aspects of that. And she still wasn't happy with the idea. She said a lot of hurtful things at first. She did come back and apologize later, uh, but it stung and it hurt, because she is my best friend, and I wanted her to support me so bad. And she said a lot of messed up stuff, like I'm not enough of a man, and just a lot of really messed up stuff. But she did apologize, and we did get past that, and it's something that she is adjusting to now, um, because she's adjusting to it because she still considers herself a lesbian. Um, she's trying to make that adjustment for herself in her own mind, of going from being this really confident, masculine lesbian to all of a sudden where she now might be bisexual if she stays with me, or pansexual, or straight, if she stays in a relationship with me. And so that's something that she's trying to process through right now, and I'm giving her space to do that, because that's fair enough. She's trying to bear through this with me, and she's trying to be supportive of me, but I do have to allot her that space to figure out what that means for her. I'm not going to be selfish in this situation and be like, well, what does that mean for me? Because I am doing this for me, and I'm coming out as transgender, and I am going to continue on this road of becoming the man that I see myself as. And so it's only fair for her to be able to have that time to process what that means for her. Um, my siblings were all really cool with it. They were like, hey, whatever floats your boat. And my mom said the same thing, whatever works for you. And then my dad, I'm not sure he knows, I'm pretty sure he knows, but his fiance actually called me out on it one day. She was like, well, you're transgender, aren't you? And I was like, well, yeah, but how did you know? And she was like, well, it's kind of obvious. And I was like, oh. Okay. And so I assumed that she talked to my dad about it, and since that point in time, he actually helped me pick out my suit, so I assume he's okay with it. It's not something we've ever talked about, but I'm okay with that. Um, we don't have to talk about it if I know that he still supports it, and he supports me in that way. And yeah, extended family. They live on the other side of the country. It's kind of hard to have that conversation over the phone, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. All in all, the best advice I can give for coming out is to be true to yourself. Things are going to be said, questions are going to be asked that make you wonder, or that hurt your feelings. And when it comes down to it, like you just have to be yourself. Like one of my girlfriend was like, you aren't even man enough as a dyke to consider yourself as a man, and so that hurt a lot. But I know that I am a man, and that is something that I'm comfortable with. And there are some feminine things about me, but I'm comfortable with those feminine things, and that doesn't make me any less of a man. Um, and so stay true to yourself. Be yourself. Don't worry about society's standards for you to be considered trans, or your family or anything like that. As long as you're true to yourself, that's what matters. And um, there are places you can call and places you can go to and things like that if it's that big of a problem for your family. But honestly, I have a harder time relating to that just because I am older. I'm 26. I don't rely on my parents. I live on my own. Um, so them being upset with me wasn't taking a risk for me. Um, so I mean, you kind of have to feel that out for yourself. And I know some of the other guys have better tips on coming out if you are still relying on your parents, or you still live with them. Uh, But as far as, older people or people who have accepting family members who just have some questions or aren't quite sure what that means, just be yourself. That's really all I've got. I hope that was able to help, and you guys have a good week.